Welcome to my Sentinel Lucian guide. This comp is new to set 5.5 and has a ton of different variations, and in this video I will go over the build, what items you make, how to play the early, mid, and late game, then I will go over some in-depth positioning examples. The build has a lot of different variations that are very flexible, but for all of them, here are the 3 core units for the comp. Here we're running Lucian as the carry, with Senna as a Sentinel Cannoneer synergy bot, and Galio as a primary tank, and also a Sentinel unit. From there you have a lot of different options in terms of what you want to add in, but a common level 8 board that I often end up with is this. Here we have added in Rel Nautilus for more CC and 2 Knights plus Ironclads. We also have Fiddlesticks as a secondary carry and Volibear to give us 2 Revenant and even more CC. Gwen is there as well for 2 Mystics and also to give Lucian more survivability with Inaminate. The worst part about this board is that it's very expensive, so if you are in a situation where you don't have the goal to hit multiple 2-star 4 costs and 5 costs, then a cheaper but also strong version is this. Here we have 4 Knights and Garen acts as a secondary carry. Another variation is this. Here we have 6 Sentinel and Akshan as a secondary carry. Something you might notice is that we aren't running 4 Cannoneers in any of these builds, and the reason is that Tristana and MF don't provide that much extra damage. I prefer to run other secondary carries like Fiddle, Akshan, and Gwen. But if you are in a spot where you need more damage, then 4 Cannoneer is definitely not a bad option. It more so comes down to how much gold you have and what units you hit late game. If this was a bit confusing to you, or you are a newer player, I recommend you just stick to this variation until you get more comfortable with the comp, and I will go more in depth on which other variations you want to run in the different situations in the late game part of the video. Lucian is the primary carry for this comp, so we prioritize making items for him first. He has one core item, and that is Last Whisper. This is because the vast majority of his damage is attack damage. Sure, his spell does a little bit of AP, but this is negligible compared to the AD he deals. Therefore, we want to shred armor as that is the main counter to this comp. Our second item wants to be a damage item. This can be IE, Deathblade, Hodge, or even Giant Slayer depending on the lobby. The third item for Lucian wants to be a healing item or another damage item. These are items like BT and Hodge. This will depend a little bit on the lobby, as a healing item is much better against units that don't burst you down such as Karma, Zara, and the Lucian Mirror matchup, but a healing item gives you a bit of insurance as sometimes Lucian will dash into weird positions with his ultimate. The reason we don't make AP items on Lucian is that his AP damage is negligible compared to his AD damage, and therefore we get way less value out of them. The only AP item I would consider buildable on Lucian is JG if you have made IE, as you still get more crit damage with that item. Another thing to note with Lucian item is that Static Shiv, Rageblade, and Hurricane don't proc on Lucian's ultimate, but that might change in the future. So those items are really bad on Lucian at the time of making this video, but in a future patch they might actually not be bad. Once we have itemized Lucian, we want to make tank items on Galio and also put an item or 2 on our secondary carries if we need more damage. The best Radiant items for this comp are any of the Lucian items I mentioned earlier, but in a Radiant form. Other great ones are any tank items on Galio, or just generic good utility items like Banshee's Claw or Shroud. If you get a Spatula, there are no good options to make besides Cavalier Spat. Most of the time you're just praying for a Fawn if you get a Spat dropped. The best emblems to take late game are Revenant to get an even stronger frontline. Knight can be good depending on your comp, especially if you can more easily fit in 4 or 6 Knights. You can never go wrong with taking either Ironclad or Mystic emblem, and also taking Cannoneer emblem is good as you can easily fit in 4 Cannoneers, or you can even drop Senna for a better unit as well. The carousel priority for this comp is Glove, Sword, Belt, then Bow. Since this comp revolves mostly around 4 and 5 cost units, we can play any opener we want to, and then just transition into Lucian later, but the best opener for this comp by far is 3 Skirmisher, 3 Sentinel with Olaf as the item carrier. And some other great openers are Callista with an A-bomb or redeemed frontline, or Varus with 2 Rangers at a 3 redeemed frontline. Once we have found our comp, we need to make items, and as a general rule, we want to make an item if we have 4 or more components. Some good items to build early game that transition well into Lucian late game are Last Whisper, Hodge, IE, Bramblevest, Declaw, Warmogs, or Sunfire. Your early game strategy will depend a lot on how good your opener is. In some games you play for a loss streak, and in some games you play for a win streak. If you want to learn more about how to play the early game, check out my guide where I go in depth on the subject. At the correct round, you should have more direction towards a comp. The general requirements to play Lucian is to have one component for Last Whisper and another component for another Lucian item. The units you have don't really matter as you just transition into Lucian later, but it definitely helps to have a Senna as she can be very hard to find at level 8 at times. During the mid game, you always want to hold Lucian and Galio if you're not playing them, and you want to hold the other units as well if you don't lose eco for holding them. If you're weak in the mid game, typically around 70 to 60 HP and loss streaking, one option is to roll at level 6 to stabilize. We do this to make sure we're able to get to level 8 later in the game. How much you roll depends on how strong the lobby is, but try not to go below 20 gold. Some boards to stabilize with are 2 Cannoneer with Tristana as the carry, 2 Rangers with any frontline, Riven carry with Dawmbringers, or 6 Skirmishers. The other option is to keep your loss streak and then level to 7 on stage 3, 5 and all in, meaning you roll until you're stable, which often leads you to roll close to 0 gold. You're generally looking to stabilize off of Lucian 1 star and then build a board around him. What you end up with will be different from game to game, but it wants to look something like this. This strategy is very risky, you will have a lot of gold, but you will also be very low on HP. So to pull this off properly, you need to be very fast at rolling, while also being able to be flexible with the units you pick up. Therefore, I do not recommend you pull off this strategy if you are a newer player. During the mid game, it's also important to scout to see how many other players are playing Lucian. This comp can support 2 to 3 players at max, so if you see more than that going for it, consider pivoting to another comp like Aphelios, Draven, or even Jax. At the Wolves round, you want to be level 7, and from here you have 2 different options. You can either roll at level 7, or you can go for a fast 8. Obviously rolling at level 8 is better, as you want to hit legendary units with this comp. But in some games, you will be too weak to go level 8. The games where you roll at 7 are when you're 70 to 60 HP or lower, you're loss streaking, or if there are a lot of other players rolling down here as well. When rolling down at level 7 on 4-1, it is very similar to rolling down on 3-5. You want to stabilize with a board that looks something like this. The goal from there is to go level 8 on 5-1, and then roll for the rest of your comp there. So try not to go below 10 to 20 gold, as we still need the money to go level 8 later in the game. If you find yourself in a spot to fast 8, the goal is to go level 8 on 4-5. If you don't have at least 30 gold or more on 4-5 after leveling to 8, you might just want to roll at level 7 instead, and then go level 8 on 5-1. Before you roll at level 8, it is very important that you know which units you're looking for. This is where all the previous scouting we have done comes in handy. With this information on what the rest of the lobby is playing, we can more easily tech in synergies and units that benefits us the most against the current lobby. The most basic ones is to fit in Mystics if the lobby is mostly AP, and Ironclad if the lobby is mostly AD. Once you've hit your board at level 8, you have 3 different options from there. The first one is to roll for Lucian 3-star. This is definitely the 1st or 8th kind of play as it is very risky, therefore I only do this if I have 6 or more Lucians, I'm uncontested, and I have enough gold and HP to do a second large roll down later. The second option is to go level 9. This will require you to be relatively healthy, typically around 40 HP or more, and also requires you to have 2-star the vast majority of your non-legendary units. But the more HP and gold you have, the less 2-stars you generally need, as you will be able to make it to level 9 sooner and also with more gold. The goal is to go level 9 on either 6-1 or 6-2 in most cases. If you're high rolling and you're able to go level 9 with a lot of gold, the most capped version of this comp looks like this. It's extremely expensive to pull off, so you will only be able to do this in a couple of your games. The third option is to keep donkey rolling at level 8. You will do this when you're not in a situation where you can go level 9 or go for 3-star Lucian. You will do this when you're still missing multiple 2-stars after your level 8 roll down and you're sitting on multiple pairs. In addition, if you're not very healthy and you can't sack most of stage 5 to go to level 9, you might just be hard stuck level 8. This isn't as bad as it sounds, as we still can get a good placement as long as we're positioning properly. First, let's look at Lucian's spell and how we can position to get the most value out of it. It says that he faces the farthest away and starts firing in that direction. A lot of the time, this means that you will just be hitting the front line, and once you chew through, you hit the enemy backline carry. But you can also position on the same side to bypass that front line if your opponents aren't covering their carry properly. But the most efficient way of chewing through the front line to hit a backliner is to put Lucian closer to the center. In this example, Lucian only has to chew through one tank, as opposed to 2 tanks in this example. But the dangerous part about putting him closer to the center is that he's more vulnerable to big CC and assassins. So you have to weigh the pros and cons in every situation before putting him closer to the center. The general positioning with this comp looks like this. Here we have Volibear on the outskirt to CC backliners in the corner. Rel is in the middle to shield our entire frontline. Galio is a bit more to the right so that he taunts units away from Lucian's firing path and lets him hit the carry sooner. Lucian is in the corner to stay safe, but also to get value out of the Inanimate trait. Now moving on to some in-depth positioning examples. Against the first guy, the big threat is Aphelios and Diana. Lucian is positioned on the same side as Aphelios, Gwen is next to him to give him Inanimate. Volibear is same side as Aphelios to hit him with a CC. Galio is dead center to hopefully make the enemy Volibear get taunted and ult away from our Lucian. Rel is positioned to shield the Lucian. Senna is on the other side to be farthest away from Akshan so that Lucian doesn't get attacked by him. Against the second guy, the big threat is Misfortune and Viego. We have Lucian in the middle so that he bypasses the Hecarim and has an easier path to take down the MF. Senna is farthest away from Thresh so that she gets hooked. Nautilus is being Viego bait. Volibear is same side as MF to CC her. Against the third guy, the big threat is Heimer and the Abomination unit. We have Lucian on the opposite side of the baby dragon to take it down first and then hit the big clump of enemies on the right side. Senna is farthest away to make sure the A-bomb doesn't go towards Lucian. Volibear is same side as the Heimer clump. Rel is a bit more to the left to make sure that she shields Lucian. Against the fourth guy, the big threat is Karma and Teemo. Lucian is positioned opposite side of Teemo, and a bit up to get an easier path to Teemo. Volibear is positioned in the middle to hopefully break Garen's shield, and also to CC the enemy backline. Galio is positioned to taunt the Garen and make him ult away from Lucian. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what video you want me to make next, and if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 3,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care, and see you in the next video.